Here we go.
All right.
Hi, this is Wesley Ure. I played Will Marshall on Land of the Lost, and you're watching Jimmy Deal's Celebrity Spotlight Show on Hamilton Radio.
And that's a good friend of ours, Wesley. I've known him a long time.
Jimmy
Deal, of course. And of course, Johnny Whittaker, the man from Family Affair and Sigmund and the Sea Monster. We got him tonight, guys, for us on the radio and on video tonight for YouTube, first time. Welcome, Johnny, to the Jimmy Deal Celebrity Spotlight Show.
Glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Great to have you on, Johnny. Of course, you're a legendary actor from Family Affair. So many great television shows, too. Of course, you grew up where in Van Nuys, California, right? And tell us how it all started for you as an actor.
Well, at 3.5, my mother was the children's chorister for our congregation for the Latter-day Saint Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint Mormon congregation. And during that time, my mother was teaching a song to the little chorus of probably 40 kids. And I was the stand-in or the backup for a little girl who got the mumps or the measles the night before the big Sunday program. Right. And so my mother got nervous. My sister said, Johnny's been practicing with us, let him do it. And I went on and sang the first verse. And then I forgot the words to the second verse, but I just went on and continued singing whatever. And then I got the third verse. And because I didn't get too nervous or messed up for the first little while, I was a member of the congregation who was in the audience, and her son had done a couple commercials and said, hey, Johnny has it. Let's get him on. So, and the rest is kind of history.
Right. One of the first commercials you did was like a used car dealer commercial, right?
Yes, for Chevrolet OK Used Cars. And I was supposed to be I was the salesman, and a little girl comes up to me and hands me a frog and says, can I buy a car for this? I say, our deals are cheap, but not that cheap. And then I did a pilot called And Baby Makes Three. Oh, wow. And also then I did The Russians Are Coming, where I met Brian Keith. Right. Brian Keith got me to be interviewed for the Family Affair, but Family Affair was originally set for a 16-year-old girl, a 10-year-old boy, and a 6-year-old girl. But when I was there, they realized that Anissa Jones and I looked like twins, and they said, we're going to change it to twins, and television history was made.
Wow. 5 seasons?
5 seasons. And that was pretty good back in those days.
Amazing.
Gilligan's Island, I think, was 3.
Right.
Or 4. And then, Bonanza was 12, and Gunsmoke was like 20. But for, what they call situation comedies, right, which Family Affair was really a dramedy, because at the end of every episode had it was like an Aesop's fable. It had a purpose and a reason for talking and having these heads tell a story. And so that's why it was, and it's still a show that people watch today.
Absolutely. I'm sure you still get a lot of fan mail.
Don't get as much as I used to, but I get a lot of fan emails. And I have, a website, www.johnnywhitaker.com.
Right.
And that's a place that people can find out where I am and what I'm doing. And then a Facebook page, which is specifically dealt for my fans and friends. And I don't know what that is, but you can find it just typing in Johnny Whittaker in Facebook, and it'll come up. For my personal Facebook page is only for people that I know and that I've met and that I've worked with. But the fan page, and I go on there probably as often or more often than I do my my other fan page. Actually, let me see if I can pass that one on to you and make that possible. Let me see. But I try to stay up with all of this stuff.
With all social media, you're up and out and about on it, right?
Right. Yeah, trying to, but doesn't happen perfectly all the time. But that one didn't come up. Let's see.
That's all right, Johnny. I got your website up now, just telling everybody so they can look at it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, here, let me just go.
And just want everybody to see it. That's all. Yeah.
Very cool.
I didn't know you worked with Donny Osmond.
Well, I've never really,
or met him.
I worked with Jimmy Osmond.
Yeah, I saw that.
But Donny actually is my nemesis. Back in 1973 or 4, there was a page that came up in Teen Beat magazine. Who is a better kisser, Donny Osmond or Johnny Whittaker? And in the next magazine, or I think it was a bi-weekly, every 2 weeks or every month. The next month, guess who won? Donny Osmond. But I never kissed a person, and so it's like, that's not right. He just had a better publicist than I did.
Right.
So got to talk to my friend who's a publicist, see what he can do today. But Donnie's married. I'm single, but and he's been married for like 40 years or something. Wow. But I just came back from seeing him. If you go down to the bottom of my webpage, you'll see that Donnie and I were together. I went to see his show. A girlfriend of mine wanted to see the show, invited me to Vegas to see the show with her, as long as I could get backstage. And so, I made a couple of phone calls, and of course we got backstage, and it was fun.
He puts on such a great show there. I've seen it quite a few times.
Oh, it is. Well, I also had tickets to the pre-show, which is Donnie comes and talks to about 20 fans, 20 fans,
right?
And very intimate. And that's the first time he saw me, and we shook hands and did the little finger thing that he does,
right?
And asked, how you doing, and asking about him, and he's asked, have I seen the show before? I said, no, I haven't. And he said, well, did you see, you saw Marie in my show? I said, yeah, I came a couple times to the Donnie and Marie show. And I've seen Marie, but I haven't seen you by yourself. He says, well, have you heard anything about it? I said, well, I heard that it was pretty good, that it was okay. And he said, what? And I said, well, just what I've heard, but I'll see it tonight. Anyway, when I went backstage afterward, I said, Donnie, I have to apologize. Whatever somebody said that it was okay, pretty good, they were wrong. You were fantastic. It was a great show.
Yeah. And he has that big trophy from Dancing with the Stars outside the showroom.
Oh, yes. Always shows that. He's had that in the down in the lobby at the other hotel, the Flamingo,
right,
where they were, and it was there and people could see it. And now he has a nice glass encased. He's got his Joseph and the Amazing Color Dreamcoat coat.
Wow.
And some other items. He's got items from when he was a kid. And then he also has the trophy, of course. Yeah. And he has the head to the peacock.
Oh, really? Wow.
So it's cool and interesting. But let me just see here. Oh, there we go.
So, Johnny, all the years you were on Family Affair, it was an enjoyable experience?
Oh, yeah. I had a wonderful time. And I never... Well, that I was 6, just turning 6, because we started in 66 and then we were on that fall of 66.
Right.
And then from 66 to 71. So I was 6 till I was 11.
Right.
And they took very good care of us, the producers. And the people on the set, they could not swear. They had a swear jar that if somebody said a bad word, they had to put $1. And, a while ago, that $1. Yeah, there's the website for, you can join my people camp, but I guess you can if you click on join. And
done.
My friend Tracy Parsons will link you and make sure that you're on. She's
beautiful.
A very dear friend and my webmaster of that site there.
Wow.
But no, Family Affair for those 5 years. At 6 years old, most children are not able to read well.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm one of 8 children and I'm the 5th, my older sister and brother, my sisters and brother made sure to teach me and read to me and help me start to read. So when our family would wake up at 6:15, we would have family prayer. And then by 6:30, we'd have breakfast. 7 o'clock, the kids were ready to go to school. Dad left about 6:30 for his school. Right. And then I got with, Mom in the car driving to the set, which took about an hour. And on the way to work, I would be reading my script and my lines, get to work, do the job, immediately go into school, get my wardrobe for the first setup, then go into school. And if hopefully we would have 20 minutes before they would call me on to the set, because you can't have anything less than 20 minutes of schooling at a time. Mm-hmm. So, depending on what the film schedule was, when they would do, excuse me,
you're going to make me yawn.
Don't know why I did that. But when I went to do the scene, if they were doing close-ups on Sebastian or Kathy or Brian, they many times would not have us do the lines because we had to go back and get schooling. Oh, okay. And so we had to have a minimum of 3 hours of school every day. And so I would have those 20-minute intervals of school. Mm-hmm. And after those, 4 times 3, 12 intervals minimally, then we could play and do whatever else we wanted. But if you've ever been on a set, a movie set or a TV set,
right,
a lot of it is hurry up and wait.
yes,
And so it's, during that waiting period that we would go back to school and study. Anyway, we would go to lunch usually from 1 to 2, and then 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, we would finish up school and finish up work. And at 5 o'clock, Mrs. Deeney, who was our teacher, would come to the producer and the director and say, "It's time. Oh, can we just get this one more shot?" I will turn my back as long as it's not more than 10 minutes. And okay, yeah, can. So they quiet on the set, roll, do it. And we would do the last scene, and then we would go home. I'd get in the car, and, I had an 8-hour day.
It's a long day.
And I was 6 years old. So, 6 till I was 11. But on the way home, while Mom was driving, I'd read my script for the next day.
Oh, wow.
Get home. I didn't have any homework necessarily, but I would be able to do my lines, kind of my homework. And my brother and sisters, by the time I did Family Affair, I had a younger brother and an older brother. So my brothers and sisters would get together, and we would have family dinner. Always, everybody was mandated to come to family dinner. And of course, we had no cell phones at that time. So it was all face to face, having family prayer around the dinner table. And, hey, how are things going? What's going on? And then we could go off and do whatever else. I would go to study or watch TV. And then I would go to bed about 9, 10 o'clock at the latest.
Right.
My mom would finish doing her chores and then come up while I was asleep and read me my lines in my sleep.
Oh, wow.
So psychologically, or, with that REM sleep, I was listening to the lines, and that was one way that I could have them memorized.
Amazing. A lot of hard work there, Doc.
Yeah. I know while I was in college, I did the play Faustus.
Okay.
And Faust has like 3 pages of dialogue that he's got to that he's got to recite.
Uh-huh.
And I was like really afraid that I might not be able to do it. So I would read it and play it on a tape recorder back in those days. Right. That would have a loop on it, so it would go over and over and over again. And I only had to do it like 3 times, but I think I did it. One time I messed up like 3 whole pages, but one of the other actors kind of caught up what was supposed to, and I thank you, Jesus, you did a good job. And but other than that, I still do it today if I have long scenes that I have to memorize. But now I mostly play a secondary character, and my lines are like 3 or 4, maybe 10 in a day.
Right.
And I don't have long soliloquies anymore. So that's okay. As I'm getting older, I like that better.
You also worked on so many great television shows. One is Bonanza, one of my favorite shows. Tell us about working with Dan Blocker on that. Of course, Hoss on the show.
Right. And do you have a picture of that?
Doc, I think we put up a picture.
I'll go back and say, I don't know.
Yeah.
There is one. if you go to my website and on my where you can buy a picture for my nonprofit, there's a picture of Dan and I.
Okay, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah. Or can I send you a file?
Sure, I'll put it right up. Yeah, you can do that too.
Sure.
However you want to do it, Johnny.
No. That's I just don't have my glasses, so I.
Yeah, I know. I've been going through the same thing. How long we got you for tonight, by the way?
Oh, I mean, I'm free until tomorrow morning, but we're not going to go that long.
I don't think we'll need you that long.
No. I don't think so either. But
I know my wife's got a couple questions. Do you want to ask a question while we're sitting here?
And I'm thinking.
Oh, she's thinking. All right. Well, Johnny, I was going to ask you about some of the celebrities that you worked with, like Dan Blocker, but any of the real celebrity, real celebrities that you met, like maybe Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, some of the musicians at the time, maybe some of the big movie stars at the time.
Well, Family Affair, we got some big old time stars. And they were kind of second tier stars. I don't want to.
Mm-hmm. I get you.
But they were trying to think. When I did The Littlest Angel, that is when I worked with Cab Calloway, who was, one of the big band leaders, and right up there with Satchmo and others. That was great. Tony Randall, E.G. Marshall. And Connie Stevens was my favorite.
Oh, wow. Connie Stevens.
And she was pregnant with her last daughter, who was who played an act. She is an actress, but she was pregnant with her. And, but, let me see here. Why can't I do that? Let's see. Okay, so copy as path. No, let's see, copy.
I just want to say one of my favorite shows back in the day when I was growing up was, of course, Green Acres.
And did two of Green Acres.
And Bewitched.
And when I did Green Acres, after I did the second episode, Ava Gabor was enamored with me. And I don't know if she was dating Merv Griffin or if he was married to his first wife or not. But she wanted to adopt me. And she, talked to my parents, and she goes, I know that you have 8 children. I have none. And you're a good Christian woman. Please just give me one, Johnny, and I will take care of him and give him everything that he would ever want. And, my mother says that's a beautiful gift and opportunity, but no, my children aren't for sale or to give up. But I just want one of 8. And but just think that my godfather would have been Merv Griffin.
Yeah.
And I would have been rolling in, I would have had my own production company. So, but let's see, just a second.
That is a funny story, though.
That's a great
story. Yeah. It's one that I like to tell, but come on. Anyway.
Johnny, tell us about Adam 12.
Talk about that. I'm going to try to find the picture. Go ahead.
No problem. Adam 12, I was a little older. It was after Family Affair, and
Right.
in between, I think, well, I did 4 Disney movies. And I'm not exactly sure where that Adam 12 kind of falls in.
Okay.
I've got to look at I'm writing a book. I'm writing my memoirs.
Nice.
So I'm getting a timeline together so that, I'm telling the truth, but that I'm doing it appropriately. And so things are correct. Anyway, I was not a great mini bike rider. I had a mini bike, but
Right.
I wasn't a good mini bike rider.
Uh-huh.
And what's his name? Not Kent McCord, but
Milner.
Milner. Yeah. His son was a motocross rider.
Oh, really? Wow.
So in that, Martin Milner's son was my stunt double.
Oh, wow.
And then, I, would ride it up to them when they stopped me.
Right.
And, but yeah, and really good guys, nice guys. It was like a one-day shoot, not a big one.
Right. Yeah, Ken McCord's a great guy. I know I met him a couple times. Wonderful man. And there's Dan Blocker right there. There's the picture you're looking for.
Oh, is that it? I was looking around. Let me get back to you guys.
I found it. Oh,
good. Good. Yes, there it is. Yes.
So now, were these guys fun to work with on Bonanza?
Oh, yeah. When I did Bonanza, Family Affair we worked usually like March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So those 9 months is when we worked, and then we had November, December, January, and February off. And it was during that time that I would do my guest starring roles like Bonanza. And when I did Bonanza, that episode, I'm not sure if it was written by or directed by Michael Landon. I think it was written by Michael Landon.
Right.
That particular episode, A Dream to Dream. And I had my 9th birthday on the set.
Oh, wow.
And, Dan Blocker, you can see there how, for the movie, I had to like him, and he had to like me for, the filming.
Right.
But in that photo, you can see that we like each other.
Yeah, it's genuine. It's genuine.
Yeah.
And anyway, he bought me, the whole set had a great big cake for me.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And I had chaps and a leather jacket, or just a half jacket, what you call that, and a big 10-gallon hat that looked just like his.
Oh, nice.
I wish I had that today. I don't know where it might be, but so that was good. And actually, because of that episode, I did not work with Lauren Green.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Or any of the other brothers. It was just Haas.
Wow. Now, when you filmed that, was it in the studio at Paramount? Or because I know there was some on-location stuff in Lake Tahoe as well.
No, we didn't go to Lake Tahoe. We went to another, I think we went, because there is a lake that we use, but I don't remember what lake that was. But it was here in LA area.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And all of Family Affair was done on the back lot of CBS Studio Center.
Oh, wow.
When we went to Spain, when we went to Tahiti, when we went to Rome, all of it was on the back lot if it was outside. Even any time that we were in Central Park, we never went to Central Park. And we never stepped foot in New York City for the 5 seasons we were on.
Oh, wow.
I mean, for publicity junkets, we would fly to New York and be there. But, they had our studio or our picture. Oh, get my shorter thing because I'll get
you back.
My office is dirty and I didn't clean it up. I'm sorry. But when they would go to New York City and shoot our apartment building or Uncle Bill's office building for an interim, second camera kind of deal.
Right.
They went to New York, but we were never there.
Oh, wow. You also worked on one of the most legendary soap operas of all time, General Hospital.
Yeah.
Scotty Baldwin. Tell us about that role. How did you get that role?
I don't know how I got it. Basically, it's kind of the same today, but back in the day, you would get, faxes.
Right.
And the casting directors would send a request to a central not central casting, but they would get a copy as well. But to right now it's called breakdown services, and they still have that. There's other ones, casting whatever it is, but casting couch, no. But all of the agents and managers would get these faxes that would come on the wire, and it would say, we're looking for, a 10-year-old boy or a 5-year-old boy, and they wanted a 4 to 5-year-old boy. And my agent sent my picture in, and the casting director there took a look at the picture and, called me in. So I remember, I did, I think, just one season, because the next season I was in Family Affair.
Oh, okay.
So I had to be 5. It had to be, I don't remember when, again, I got to get back to my timeline, when General Hospital started. It was in black and white.
Right.
And Meg was my mother. And she was a nurse. And she was Meg something or other, and had divorced my father and had a affair or dating. I don't know if they had affairs back then or if they just talked about dating.
Right.
Anyway, with Dr. Baldwin, and then they got married, and Dr. Baldwin adopted me, so I became Scotty Baldwin.
Oh, wow.
And what I do remember is my mother sitting with me, and because at 5 I was starting to read but couldn't read all that well. And every Monday we would have the readings for that week's episodes, and they wouldn't have commercials, so they were like 44 minutes.
Right.
And anything that I was in, they would hurry up and bring out, because until you were 6, I could only be on the set for working for like 4 hours.
Right.
So they had to do mine. But I do remember sitting around the table and reading the lines. And, my mother would be behind me and helping me read the lines. And I would do my lines. And then we would get on the set and, I had my lines memorized. I saw the And Baby Makes Three, and I had some pretty long lines, and I was 4 or early 5 years, 65 when I did that. And I did a good job, And then, of course, in Family Affair, I had some long soliloquies. And one that I remember most was when I had Arthur the Invisible Bear. I don't know if you remember that episode.
I remember that. Sorry.
But Jody, for some reason, has an invisible bear as a friend. And the invisible bear comes to school and knocks him off his chair.
Oh, wow.
And he talks to, and Jody and Uncle Bill go to a psychologist to find out why he's doing this. And in the script, it said Jody begins, Uncle Bill goes in with the psychologist and Jody's left out in the waiting room with Arthur. And it says in the script, Jody begins to tell the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Oh, wow.
And it says, Jody, once upon a time, there were 3 bears, a baby bear, a mama bear, and a papa bear. And there was a little girl named Goldilocks. Mm. And Goldilocks was lost in, and it just had a little bit of it.
Right.
Well, I've always been taught to continue as best I can my lines until they say cut. And, as an actor, you're supposed to, you'll see a lot of times then, they continue to talk, but the audio goes off and they go into another scene and you're continuing to talk. Well, you're supposed to continue something that makes sense.
Right.
For 6 to 10 minutes, as long as they had film left in the camera.
Right.
I continued the story of the 3 bears.
Oh, wow.
And at the end of that, when Charlie Barton, who was our director, said, cut, print, I got a standing ovation by everybody on the set. Because I continued in character and I was talking to Arthur and did you like that part? And okay, Arthur. And, I think that the daddy bear was kind of like you, real big, and went on. And I'd love to know if any of that footage is still available anywhere. But unfortunately, many of the old outtakes were never put together. And it would be a great thing to have.
Yeah. So wonderful that you had such a great experience on Family Affair.
The first part of my book is about growing up in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And by the time I was 14, 15, and 16, 13, 14, and 15, I was doing Sigmund. And Sigmund and the Sea Monsters lasted what they call 3 seasons, but it was 2 seasons. But we did 27 episodes. Wow. And for a children's show, you usually only do 13. Mm-hmm. So I guess 26 or 27 would be 2 episodes. Wow. Or 2 seasons. And by the time I was 16, I was doing a family variety show. in all over the country with my younger brother and two younger sisters, and it was called the Johnny Whittaker Show. And our opening show was up in Idaho for the it was right after the dam broke in Idaho, outside of Rexburg, Idaho, Rigsby and that area in 1976. And there were hundreds of homes that were flooded.
Oh, wow.
And we did a benefit concert for anybody and everybody who wanted to come. And you didn't have to pay, but anything that you did pay went straight to the relief fund. And that was when we started. And we ended sometime in August, but I think it was mid-July we were in Salt Lake City. And that's when I was told that Anissa Jones, Buffy, had died of a drug overdose.
Oh, wow.
And it was a real shocker to me. I immediately called Les Kaufman, who was the producer's publicity man for Don Feddersen Productions and Family Affair Productions, which, of course, Family Affair had been canceled in 71, but whatever residuals and whatever else would continue went through the Family Affair production office, but they continued to do the Lawrence Welk show up until, whenever that ended. But I called Les Kaufman, and he was not in his office, but his secretary somehow three-wayed me into speaking with him, and he was at Anissa's mother's home. And just told me that, that, and I just said, if I could talk to Paula, and he said that she's too distraught, or Paul, her brother, they're both too distraught, but let them know that you called and that you send your love. And she and her brother and mother, I think, put her ashes out in the ocean. They lived right a block from the beach. That's what I believe that they did. I'm not exactly sure, but just the two of them with Anissa, I believe, maybe a couple of friends. And they didn't have, she was not religious, nor Christian, nor Jewish, or anything. Paula was a devout atheist.
And,
made sure that when we were in school, that religion comes up when you're talking about the Pilgrims, or you're talking about, the Constitution, and, the Declaration of Independence. When you're talking, it uses God. She said to Mrs. Deany, our teacher, "You will not teach anything about God in this classroom." And Mrs. Deany followed. And every once in a while, I do remember one time, I think it was the Pilgrims we were talking about. And they were talking about how there was, the Pilgrims left England because of they were being persecuted. And I said, well, the Mormons were persecuted, and my ancestors were persecuted. And, I started sharing a little bit about Brigham Young coming across the plains and that. And Mrs. Deany said, John, we can't talk about religion. And I was talking about history, not necessarily religion. And Anissa said, I believe in God, but don't you tell my mother I said so.
Oh,
wow.
So, Unfortunately, her brother, Paul, died about 2 years later, also of an overdose.
Oh, wow. Crazy.
Wow.
Well,
Why
once
do you
a
think
year,
child stars have such a problem with drugs?
well, I call it mom, not necessarily mother, but means, opportunity, and motive. And with that, a young person in Hollywood has the means. Because back in the day and even today, if you want to get some blow or you wanted to get some smo, there was always some guy on the set who knew how to get something. Now, on our set, I never knew. On Family Affair, Sigmund and the Sea Monster,
Right.
Tom Sawyer, any of the shows that I did, I never knew about any of that. I found out about it later. But, you know, there's always a way to get it. So you've got means, opportunity, and as a mental health counselor, I share that there are 5 stages of adolescence. And those 5 stages are very necessary for every adolescent to go through. Going to get a little bit technical here. The frontal lobe of our brain is the last part of our brain to grow. Now, if you've ever had a baby or a niece or a nephew and you're holding them in your arms, you always cover their head. I'll do it this side. Always cover their head because they have that soft spot. And that's because the cranium grows like this. And the last part to grow is that little hole in the head. Well, inside the cranium, of course, the brain is growing and developing. And the very last part to develop is the frontal lobe. And that is the decision-making brain. So that part for young people is not yet, you know, when anybody does some strange, crazy jumps and flies out of an airplane, it's usually somebody who is under the age of 25.
Right.
And that is because at 25 or 26, the frontal lobe is complete, has completed its growth. That's why if any child in today's world, I'm sorry, but children making decisions and lifelong decisions before they are adults is absolutely ludicrous.
I agree.
And absolutely wrong, because that frontal lobe has not grown. And when I was a child, beside wanting to, I never wanted to be in show business as I grew up. I wanted to be a policeman. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an airplane pilot, you know, and one day I was an airplane pilot. The next day I was, you know, wanting to be, because my brain was not yet grown enough to make those important life decisions. But there are 5 stages of adolescence. And they're not in any specific order.
Right.
But by the time you are 16, 17, or 18, you should have gone through these. And one of them is finding a career path. Unfortunately, today, all of our home ec, all of our shop and auto mechanic classes have been thrown out of education.
Yeah.
So young people can't make those decisions or follow that path if they want to. They can later on, but they're not given that opportunity unless their parents or their mother or father, give that to them, which is fine. But it was given. My father was a shop teacher for 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And so that's why I really support shop in junior high or high school. But again, our education system wants to teach IRT and, CRT and things that have nothing to do with getting a career path, unless they want to be leaders of Antifa. Anyway, I won't get into too political, but
Johnny, before you go on, my background, I was a New Jersey State Police automotive technician for 25 years. Also been a DJ, also been a radio personality. So I understand what you're saying. Also went into computers after I hurt myself. But you're right. The reason why people don't teach technical schools anymore, the reason why I think here in the East Coast is almost the same reason you're talking about, but it's a lot of money issues. Financial it plays the biggest part in it.
Oh, absolutely. And our teachers, good teachers, are underpaid.
There you go.
And we are putting money into the wrong things. I have nothing against the LGBTQ2IA plus community, but I don't believe it is appropriate to tell a child under the age of 10 or 11 or 12 until they start changing in their bodies, which happens at that time, about other options to sexuality. Some young people know from the time that they are very young that they have a propensity for the same sex, and that's perfectly fine. But to force the issue and to teach and have books that are teaching our children how to have gay sex at 12 and 13 and 14 years old is wrong. Again, the brain has not been able to completely make good, right decisions. Parents can help, but that's why a child is not an adult in the United States unless they are emancipated at 16 or 14,
right,
until they are 18. And that's one of the main reasons, because that brain of the child is not grown.
Right. That's right.
So anyway, 1, finding a career path. 2, finding a peer group. Well, a career path for me was set at the age of 6. Until I was 16, I had no opportunity to really find or make that decision. I know that on the set of Happy Days, the director there made sure that the young people got a chance to direct and get other opportunities, which was absolutely wonderful for them to do that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the great my friend, who I can't remember his name. Yes.
We both said it to me.
Thank you. And what did you say?
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard, of course. Ronnie Howard is how I knew him.
Right.
There's a picture with Ronnie Howard, Clint Howard, his brother, who was my age.
Nice guy.
And the Livingston brothers, Anissa Jones, and Billy Mooney. and we're holding ties for Father's Day. It was a Father's Day photo shoot for some reason. Anyway, but he became one of the great film directors, and he had some good education.
Right.
I not necessarily so. But I did later on in life. I graduated from Brigham Young University as a communications major with a degree in film and television production, film writing, and directing. And I did a little bit after college, but my career path changed after I got married and divorced. But you'll have to read the book about that. That's way too much. But so career path, finding a peer group. My peers were all 20, 15, 20, 30 years older than I.
Right.
Rebelling against authority, which I could not do because I was a goody two-shoes, and having people look at me and watch me and, all of that.
Right.
But rebelling against authority, finding your sexual identity. If you like boys or if you like girls, if you like both, if you aren't sure, all of that is supposed to come in those 5 stages. And the 5th one, I can't remember, but I'll send it to you so you can put it in the show notes or whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, but with all of that, I was unable to grow up in my childhood and in my adolescence become the adolescent that I needed to be.
Right.
And I was a good Mormon boy. I went after Anissa Jones passed. I did only very little because I told my agent I wanted to slow things down.
Right.
And I went back to high school. I was my high school mascot. I was a Yell King, which is like a cheerleader, but the guy that, but I met up with some other cheerleaders that liked boys more than girls. And I thought, oh, I didn't know that. But that's okay. We were friends and shared pins. But I had some beautiful young ladies who are still friends of mine today.
Oh, that's nice.
From high school, and I was the Yell King. And actually, I was Sammy Spartan for Sylmar High School. And Sammy had his wife or girlfriend, Susie Spartan. And Susie called me out of the blue just about 2 weeks ago, and we laughed and talked about, it had been a very long time. And her cousin, I took to the, to the big ball, the seniors.
Right.
The prom,
senior prom. And, but because I was a good Mormon boy, there was no hanky panky. And
yeah.
We were very, very good friends. But she was homecoming queen. So I got the homecoming queen.
Oh, wow.
But then I served a mission for the LDS, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
right,
commonly known as the Mormon faith.
Right.
And I went to Portugal for 2 years. I came home, got married. I was a virgin when I got married because that's what you do in the LDS faith is you don't have sexual relations until after the marriage.
right.
We did a little touchy feely here and there, but and I was enamored with sex. I mean, I loved her, but now it was like, yeah, baby, let's go. And unfortunately, 3 years after the divorce or after our marriage, she came to me after I spent my last $14,000 of the money that I got as a child actor. I got about $100,000 that was saved for me after I'd made probably close to $2.5 to $3 million from the time that I started working until I finished,
Right.
Or up until I was 18. But there was only about $100,000 that was put aside for me, and that's one of the reasons that Paul Peterson, myself, and some others, including Jeannie Russell, who played the Dennis the Menace Margaret. And then Paul Peterson was in the Donna Reed show. And the three of us, I myself, Paul, for a lot longer than I, but we fought at the Young People's SAG-AFTRA Young Persons Committee. We were on there. I was there for 12 years.
Right.
And during that time, I was married and divorced. But my wife, after 3.5 years of marriage, and after spending the last money I had on a business for her, for us, but for her, she said she didn't love me anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And divorced me to marry the man who gave me my bachelor party.
Oh, wow.
Strike one to God. In the Mormon faith, LDS Church, we're married for time and all eternity, not until death do you part.
Right.
My mother and father were married for 55 years when my father passed on their 55th wedding anniversary.
Right.
Oh.
And that was kind of what I had as my example for marriage. And anyway, I was devastated. Came back to Utah to fix my house, to get it ready. That Utah is a not a common law state or a community property state. So I bought the house before going to college and way before I got married and before I went on my mission. So it was my house. And she did not get that, but she got everything that was in the house.
Right.
And I was fixing it up and met this 4.5-year-old little girl who was beautiful, cute, blonde hair, blue eyes, and wanted to play ball. And so I went to play ball with her. But I said, wait a minute, I'm a 27-year-old man with this 4.5-year-old girl, and we're no relation. So I got to talk to your mommy. I went up and talked to her mommy and daddy, but she said she didn't have a daddy. She only has a mommy. So we started dating. And a few years later, she, well, not a few years, we started our relationship in June. And in September, she said that she was pregnant with my child. In October, her child was her first child was the product of a rape. But she kept the baby, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to keep my child. And she was going to give it up for adoption. I said, I'll take the child. And she said, no. And I said, well, hormones are raging. We'll talk about this later. Right. But I was ecstatic because I'm going to continue. There's going to be a little Johnny or a little Janita,
right.
And unfortunately, she just had a lot of emotional, mental problems, mental illness caused by the trauma of her rape and other things. She killed herself on Halloween. Along with my child. Strike two to God. And strike three, the next day after I found out that she had passed, I got a letter saying that my divorce was final. And another letter saying that the LDS faith chose to excommunicate me.
Oh boy.
So I got strike 1, 2, 3, and 4. I went to the dark side. And that you'll have to get in my book, but that's the 3 main focuses.
Right.
Well, no, I guess it's going to have to be 4, because the third one is going into sex, drugs, rock and roll for about 10 and a half years.
Wow.
26 years ago, I got clean and sober. And I went 20 years ago, I started 21 years ago, I started a nonprofit. No, 20 years ago, I started a nonprofit, Paso por Paso, which is pasoporpaso.org. And that is all of the funds that I get from the photos that people want from me go to pay most of the bills for that. I don't get any other money. I get some donations, but mostly donations for photos.
Right.
And that is the specific purpose is to help the non-English speaking addict alcoholic find treatment and recovery.
Oh wow.
I'm very blessed that Mrs. Dini spoke English, Spanish, and German, and would teach us and a little bit of French. And Mrs. Seaman, who was another teacher, who was my teacher for Sigmund and the Sea Monster, taught Jodie Foster and I French the summer before Tom Sawyer, when we were doing Napoleon and Samantha. And anyway, I speak 5 languages fluently. I speak English, Portuguese, French, Spanish, and American Sign Language.
Wow.
And so Paso por Paso is specifically geared to help individuals for whom English is not their primary language. Currently, I am teaching a young man at my school that I teach at a DUI school, which is driving under the influence. He is deaf or hard of hearing, and all of our communication in class and one-on-ones are all done in American Sign Language. And anyway, that's what that is for. And, every year, and if I can come back next August, August 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day.
Okay.
And September is National Recovery Month. And I started 12 years ago with a couple of other organizations whom I support and supported, where we would do actions for International Overdose Awareness Day. And Anissa Jones, of course, is my first friend who died of overdose.
Yeah.
Then Celeste Holm died of an overdose while she was in the hospital by the nurses or the doctors or whatever. I'm not going to put any blame, but that was the beginning to her end. She was 94 years old,
Right.
but her widower, who is a good friend of mine, and Celeste Holm was Aunt Polly and Tom Sawyer. But she is one, and there is Lonnie O'Grady.
Oh yeah, from 8 is Enough.
From 8 is Enough. She was like a god sister to me. Her mother was my agent.
Mm-hmm.
Then Dana Plato.
Yeah.
I was her last agent before she passed.
Mhm.
And I was privileged to be the pastor at her memorial. And then we have Michael Douglas's half brother, Eric Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
He and I partied together. I got the drugs. He paid for them, but I found them. And he got the women, and he paid for them. So I was beholden to him. But we partied a lot together.
Right.
And
Johnny, hold on, Johnny. One second. I want to take you back. Dana Plato, just want to tell people she was different strokes. She had a drug problem, right? What was her issues?
Well, unfortunately, Anissa, okay.
Too much fame, like too fast type of thing?
Overdose is different than suicide.
Right.
But they can overlap. In the case of Anissa Jones, I believe that it was overdose and possible suicide. And the reason I say possible is, and the same thing with Dana. Dana's was not, absolutely not, in my opinion, because I knew her, was not a suicide.
Mm-hmm.
The day before, or a day and a half before, she was in New York on the Howard Stern show.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Howard Stern is an a-hole.
Yeah.
But that's why he's famous in the billions.
Yeah, Jimmy was going to work for him at one point.
And, you know, God love him. You know, he's great. And he knows he's great and he thinks he's great. But he really teased her extremely and insisted that they get a urine analysis with her there so that they could, you know, because she had claimed to have 10 years clean and sober. When I first saw her, and this was probably 6 months before, the first time I met her, her bottom jaw was doing this a little too much. And that is a surefire knowledge that there might be methamphetamine in her system. Now, I was clean and sober about 2 years by that time. And when I saw that, you know, and she's, you know, I said, well, you know what? I'm 2 years sober. I got 10 years. And she showed me her 10-year coin. And I thought, you know, that's beautiful.
Right.
And I'm going to believe, you know, in the 12-step program, of which I am a member of many 12-step programs. Anyway, in those, we are not to judge. And if somebody says they're sober, they're clean, they are.
Word, right?
It's a personal decision.
Mm-hmm.
So she said she was. Well, anyway, I believe that she was very, very unhappy, that she was extremely depressed, and that in her system there was cocaine, there was a lot of Lortab, and a lot of opiates. And she did have other medically prescribed opiates. But when she was dying, her mofo jerk of a boyfriend was recording her last breaths.
Oh, wow.
Instead of calling 911. And anyway, then her son, 11 years to the day of her mother's passing, in a drug-induced rage, shot himself.
Oh, man.
And then I have one of my best friends had a son who died in 2019, And then in 2022, I had a god nephew of mine who died of a fentanyl overdose, leaving 6 children. But every year, usually the first week or the second week of September, on a Saturday, I have a Zoom get together, and we read the names of about 100 individuals. People who know these individuals can share about their lives. 2 years ago, and it's called Remembering Lives Lost, or a celebration of lives lost and lives recovered.
Right.
Lives lost for International Overdose Awareness Days, and lives recovered for Recovery Month in September.
Right.
And so 2 years ago, I had my friend, I'm suffering from CRS. You know what that is?
Can't remember shit.
In mixed company, I say can't remember stuff.
Okay, whatever.
That's the Johnny Whittaker part, because I'm such an angel.
Right.
Anyway, can't remember stuff.
So you live up to the thing called the Littlest Angel? Was that the name?
Well, I have a little get together in Cedar City, Utah, on Sunday, the 19th of November, and the title is From Choir Boy to Crackhead and Back.
Wow.
Where I share some video of me and tell some of these stories, and then how my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ came back into my life and has forgiven me of the 10 years of sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Right.
And that one way in which I give back is in my nonprofit, helping those who need to find treatment in a different way. And also in going to the jail at least once a month, where I share my message of hope, faith, and courage to the gentlemen who are there. And but with those 7 or 8 individuals, we celebrate their lives and the lives of at least 100 others. And anytime that somebody has a family, friend, or loved one, they can send I think I got that right. Ooh, I'm good. Without even looking. Oh, no, that didn't work.
They can send what?
Let's see.
Before you go into anything else, though, John, I do want to ask you, because I know people are going to ask me about Sebastian Cabot, because we're coming up to Christmas time, and Miracle on 34th Street. Did he change after he started doing that movie, or was it before Family Affair or after Family Affair?
No. The Miracle on 34th Street, he was he passed, I believe, in 1974. And again, I got to get my numbers right. Next time I'm going to have it up on the screen so that I can say, there we go, search, find, there it is. And so I think that was one of his last jobs in 73. I believe it came out in the Christmas of 73. And Brian Keith was your favorite uncle. Loved kids, partied with us like you would with a kid, would play games, and we would ride his back. The only thing we couldn't do was touch the toop. He had a little toupee.
Hey, I thought so.
And you could not touch the toop. You could, play with anything else, but not the toop. Anyway, but Sebastian was more reserved and said that when, actors do not dawdle and we do not have fun, the actor prepares. I understand that Brian loves to play. I am an actor, and the actor prepares. If you'd like to go over your lines, that's perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. But if there was ever the equivalent of TMZ or whatever on the set, because all of that started way after Family Affair. But if there was ever some publicity, something that was some news show was coming in and doing an interview with us and Sebastian, he made sure to say, "Oh, children, come here. Let's read Winnie the Pooh, shall we?" So I got to listen to Winnie the Pooh being read in person by Sebastian.
So what you're saying is he was more of I'll do it in front of the camera, but not outside the camera type of thing.
He still was nice, and he had a daughter,
nice, but very, very dedicated and serious.
Oh, yeah. And he had a daughter that was a niece's age, and she would come on the set during the summers. And so at that time, he was a lot more fun when his daughter was on the set, because he wanted her to have a good time, and but I'm sure she did, and we did, but he was much more reserved. He was much more like his character, and Brian was very much like his character.
Right.
Johnny, also, I got a question from a listener. They wanted to know, what was it like to work with Jodie Foster in Tom Sawyer?
Well, I had worked with Jodie earlier in Napoleon and Samantha. Mm-hmm. And Jodie was preparing to go into Le Lycée Français, which is the French lycée, which is a little nicer than, it's kind of like college, but it's under college, but just before the université.
Right.
So, but it is a step above high school, and I guess college prep is what we would call it. Mm-hmm. And but it's the college prep in French. Mm-hmm. And so in order for her to go there, and she was, just 11 or 10 even, and she had to show a proficiency in French. So Mrs. Sigmund, who was the teacher for us that summer, anytime we could, we went off and studied French. And so Jodie and I had a fun time learning French. Then, because Tom Sawyer was very Tom heavy and I was Tom, we didn't have a whole lot of time to play, and but we did. She was now 11 or 10 and a half, maybe. And I was 12, and Jodie and I were good friends. But in Tom Sawyer, I am to give Jodie her first on-screen kiss.
Wow.
And if you look at that scene, I was a real good kisser. Because better
Donny
than
Osmond, he was a good kisser.
How many takes did you do for that, Johnny?
I was known as One Take Whittaker.
There you go.
But it is a very, as passionate as a young boy can be, and loving and caring to a young girl who is probably having her first kiss. Mm-hmm. And I look at it and I think, damn, he did a good job there, boy. If I was his dad, I'd say, good job. Anyway, but then Jodie turns gay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not my fault.
Are you friends with any of these people still from some of these shows? I mean, Family Affair, we talked about Kathy Garver.
Kathy Garver and I are we are friends, acquaintances.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't like me for some reason. And one day, you know, we'll get over it, or she'll get over it. I don't know. I love her. I care about her.
Yeah.
But in my personal opinion, it is not at all reciprocated. But yes, I have gone on autograph shows and been in places where the two of us have been. She will not have her picture taken with me. She will not, you know, be near me. But you know, that's her choice. I'm, you know, I let water under the bridge, and I have apologized to her even on the Oprah show. And she supposedly took that, but continues. There's something else that I haven't apologized for. You know, I said that there are sins of omission and sins of commission. And, you know, whatever I did, I apologize for all of them. And
Right.
she told me exactly, at least what I thought was what she was upset about.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize. And, you know, when we did the TV Land Awards,
Mm-hmm.
where Kathy and I were the presenter of the, you know, of the trophies. We really didn't say much. We came out at the beginning and said, hello, how are you? But then during the rest of the night, what we did is we brought the trophies to the winners. And backstage, I knew that Kathy had lobbied and got us that gig.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, Kathy, you know, I really want to thank you for getting us this gig. And, you know, I know that you've done a lot of things in the past that I may not know of. And this was before the Oprah show.
Right.
And I said, you know, I just want to say thank you, because this was, you know, one of the most wonderful nights of my life, because I got to meet a lot of stars and a lot of people there. And you know, just kind of for the last many years, child actors are not, you know, A, B, C, or D listers, you know.
Right.
So, but we were A-listers that night, you know, or walking and rubbing elbows with a lot of the A-listers. So I just said, I thank you very much. And she goes, well, finally. It was like, I'm really sorry. I you know, I didn't know. And the rest of the night she wouldn't speak to me. So, you know, Kathy and I get along. One of my dearest and closest friends was Rip Taylor.
Oh yeah, I love Rip.
And hello, I have to have confetti, but Rip helped me even in my drug-induced crazy days. I just remember my car broke down from Utah to California near Vegas.
Yeah.
And I just said, I need a place to stay in Vegas. And of course, I was using all my money for drugs, and I didn't want to spend any money extra that I didn't have to. So I called him up, and he was doing his show in Vegas with Debbie Reynolds.
Debbie Reynolds Hotel. Beautiful place.
At the Debbie Reynolds Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And I called, and for some reason I didn't have his number, or I did. I don't know. Anyway, and I just left a message, and I said, I am stuck in Vegas, and I don't expect anything from you. You don't owe me anything, but if I could get a discount on the hotel room at Debbie Reynolds, which it wasn't the nicest. I mean, it wasn't the MGM or anything like that. And what I wanted to pay for was along the prostitute row and drug row, which was a lot cheaper. But I didn't want that necessarily if I didn't have to.
Right.
And so the message came back, yes, we have a room for you. Because I think I had a buddy with me. And yes, we have a room for you. Come to the hotel and you'll get 2 comps for the show tonight. So I got to the hotel, and in my little thing for my keys, there was $100 bill.
Oh, wow.
And later on, and of course I used that for crack, and maybe half of it to pay for some of the work that needed to be done on the car.
Right.
Or maybe I used it all for the car, but it left money for crack. Anyway, I can laugh about it today. I know you guys are, what? No, little Jody did crack. No. Yes, I did.
Well, it's amazing you overcame all that, though, Johnny.
Yeah, see, and Johnny, here's the thing with me. I mean, I'm not a drug person, but I was with the New Jersey State Police for 25 years. There's nothing that you can't tell me or show me that I didn't see or hear from the detective. So
right.
I applaud you for getting rid of your drug addiction, and now you're helping other people. So you're doing God's work in so many tremendous ways because you've experienced what it was like to go through some of these things that you went through. Now these people are going through, and you can help them overcome that. That to me, that's just an amazing feat right there. Don't you agree, Jimmy?
Absolutely. Johnny, if you had to do this all over again, anything you would change?
That question is asked all the time. And I actually wouldn't change much. Mm-hmm. But I would have insisted that my parents put half of the money that I got from one of my Disney movies into Disney stock in 1971.
Right.
Because Disney was giving one-on-one stock options. So the $7,500, well, I would get paid about $15,000 per picture, I believe. Mm-hmm. And the $7,500 would be matched with another $7,500 worth of stock. That means I would have had 15,000 shares of stock because Disney stock at that time was 99 cents a share. Fast forward today, that 15,000 shares of Disney stock in 1971 would be well over $50 million.
Oh,
wow. Yeah, definitely do that again.
Was that from the Snowball Express, the movie?
Probably Snowball Express or Mystery in Dracula's Castle.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, that's about the only thing that I'd change. But also, I learned a lot in my 10 years of drugs and alcohol. Mm-hmm. And, I wouldn't want to do that again.
Right.
Because it was very painful.
Sure.
Those 10 years. Well, hey, I had some great time. When you party and you party hardy and you have Eric Douglas as a friend, it's lots of fun. But you have to pay the piper the next day or the day after that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And that's when all you do is want more. And he's gone and he's back in New York or on a plane, and he's not going to pay for anything that he's not going to get.
Right.
I mean, that's just an addict alcoholic way of thinking. If you want to party with me, I'll party with you, but you're not getting any of my money, for anything more. And of course, I had to, beg, borrow, and steal sometimes. to get my drugs, do things that were totally inappropriate, totally. I sold drugs until I became my best customer. And then I had to do things that are just unspeakable.
Right.
But
yeah, when you start using your own supply, now you don't have the money coming in to even do anything.
Idea.
right, and I had a full-time
Or
job.
buy more supply.
Yeah, I had a full-time job making very good money near the end of my using. But all of it went up in smoke or in my nose or whatever. I like to smoke it more than anything else. Never injected.
Right.
But anyway, this year and next year, I am throwing out 3 Hail Mary passes. Hail Mary Pass 1 is a film that I have written or co-written with my best friend and co-writer, D. Bryant Liggins, like M. Shamala, whatever. Anyway, D. Bryant Liggins. And it's called Sky Blue. And it is about a Southern racist grandfather who must come to grips with recognizing that he is the sole relative to his mixed race granddaughter.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And it's a short. And unfortunately, I was supposed to be finished with it in November. But because of the actors' strike, and we are a SAG signatory, or will be, we couldn't begin.
Sure.
But now that the strike is over, thank goodness, we're going to film it in North Carolina in probably March, and hopefully get it ready for the summer, for some of the summer film festivals, and hopefully Netflix or other streaming services will purchase it. I'm doing a not GoFundMe, but what's the other one?
Johnny, did this come out already? You said this came out
No,
already?
no. I'm filming it.
It's working on
I
it.
will be filming it.
Filming it, so.
Yeah, it is in pre-production right now.
Okay.
And but I will have an Indiegogo or GoFundMe, I think one of those, for my fans and friends, to pay. And after X number of dollars, you will get your name, and under that, you'll get little trinkets and memorabilia and that. But I'm, going to some friends of mine who owe me. And hopefully that they will do it. I've got some of the funding, but not all of it yet.
Send me some links, Johnny, when it's done.
Sure, absolutely. And then I'm writing my memoirs. And I will not tell you the name because it is such a good name until I get it on my, under my name and copywritten and all of that. I will not mention it.
Right.
But it's going to be, like I said, 3 or 4 basic parts of my life. My growing up in Hollywood, my teen life, and then going on a mission for the Mormon faith, and then my marriage and divorce, and then my 10 years in drugs and alcohol, and then 25 years clean and sober. So, that's, Hail Mary Pass number 2. And my Hail Mary Pass number 3, I've already done some work on my documentary. It is called Portugal, comma, did they get it right? ? Exclamation point, ? And I was a Mormon missionary in Portugal 45 years ago. And 46 years later, I am in Portugal. Well, I was in Portugal 45 years ago preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Nice.
46 years later, I'm in Portugal preaching the drug policy of Portugal, which is that all drugs are decriminalized. They are not illegal, but they are decriminalized. And how they go about that. And that's going to be probably quite a bit more expensive to film than the short film. And but that's my third, and hoping to get all of those up and done before this time next year.
Nice. Well, John, we have time for one more question, and I just wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to a child actor starting out today in the business?
Well, I actually had an opportunity to chat with a young actress who is a Disney star, and now she's done some other things. And she thanked Paul, myself, and Jeannie for because she wasn't even born when we did the Jackie Coogan revision law in 2000. Mm-hmm. And well, maybe she was 2 years old. I think she's 25 now, and I won't mention her name. But she said thank you. And you know, she's struggling a little bit with becoming an adult and what had happened, but it appears that she's doing quite well as an actress. But children, I never took one acting class. And I was told by the producers of Family Affair not to take one because I was a natural actor. Now, some children are not natural and they need some help. And they, you know, if they are smart and intelligent, they can pick it up. But there are some that just can't act. So I would not say not take acting classes, but take them that teach how to be an actor, not how to act. Because an actor is being. An actor is, not acts. And I do teach children and adults and young people acting, so that's why I'm saying it's not bad.
Right.
But make sure that your parents have, California is the only state that has the updated Jackie Coogan law. And because each state is separate in a democratic republic, the laws are different in each of the different states. So, but make sure that your parents, no matter how much or little you are acting, put money away for you. And, you know, I'm not going to tell parents how to spend their children's money.
Right.
But because unfortunately, children are chattel, meaning we do not have any power over our own income. Right. And anything that a child has is automatically the property of the parent until they turn 16 or they're emancipated, or until they are 18 years old. So insist that your parents have a Coogan type fund for you. Now, your parents in many instances have spent thousands and sometimes tens of thousands of dollars on getting you prepared to be an actor or a performer. So definitely they need to be repaid, but don't be your parents' meal ticket. Number two. And number three, make sure that you have fun, that you are a kid.
Right.
That if you stop having fun, stop it, because I had fun the whole time and, enjoyed it and still enjoy it.
Awesome.
My director of photography and we say, we're going to go have fun in March. We're going to go play and we're going to make a movie. But it's all fun, but it's serious business because we're spending other people's money many times, some of mine, but it's serious business, but it is fun. It is enjoyable and it is an art. But if you don't have fun at what you do, get another job.
Yeah.
Great advice right there.
So, and just remember, those 5 steps that you need to go through.
Right.
And make sure that your parents are helping you go through those 5 stages. And I guess that would be what my counsel would be to a young actor.
Doc G, what else do you have for Johnny?
Well, Johnny, we got to give a shout out to Elaine Ballas because she's the one that set us up. And I talk to Elaine all the time, and she's always
beautiful young lady.
Yes.
Great lady.
And
we actually dated for a little while.
Did you really? Wow.
Well,
I love Elaine. Elaine's the best.
And, yes. And I'm still good friends with her. We had a nice Christmas just before the pandemic. We were good friends and we're going out semi-regularly.
Nice.
But, our paths separated and had things that came up. And but we're good friends again now. And that's always nice.
Right. She's a sweetheart of a person. But I just want to say, Johnny, before we let you go, if you
did your wife have a question?
Did you have a question, honey?
Well,
Yes.
I was just wondering, did you know
Here, let him see it, let him see
Mason Reed?
Oh, yeah, Mason Reese.
Mason Reese, yes.
Yes, Mason Reese is one of, we have a Facebook page, which is secret, which is a child actor webpage. I forget what it is. I can't give it to anybody because you can only get there if you're invited.
Okay. Invite us.
And Mason and I are on that, and we get together probably once a year or once every couple of years. We haven't had a get together for a while, but when Mason comes into LA, and he was here for a little while, and then went back to New York, Mason is a bit younger. I think he's about 50, in his mid 50s. And I'm 63. But now that, anything over 50, we're in the same boat.
Yeah. Yeah, so true.
Waking up and saying, where did that ache come from?
Yeah, I know.
Or, middle of the night pee.
Bones creaking. I get everything.
All of that.
All after 50.
But yeah, he's a friend. I wouldn't say good friend. I mean, we don't go out all the time, but next time I come to New York, I'm sure he'll be there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so all I wanted to ask you was, Johnny, if you could just do a sweeper for the radio station, basically say who you are. You can say Johnny Whittaker from Family Affair or from TV, movies, and screen. You're listening to the Jimmy Deal Show on Hamilton Radio. And then whenever you're ready, you just say it.
Okay. Hi there, this is Johnny Whittaker. Jody from Family Affair, or Johnny from Sigmund and the Same.
Retake, take 2.
I'm no longer one take Whittaker. Hi there, this is Johnny Whittaker. You might know me as Jody from Family Affair, or as Tom Sawyer, just celebrating 50 years of Tom Sawyer. That went on. We'll do it again. Not my fault. Your fault.
Take 3.
Take 3. 3, 2, 1. Hi, this is Johnny Whittaker. You might remember me best from Family Affair. I played Jody or Tom Sawyer. This year, 50 years of Tom Sawyer and 50 years of Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, where I played Johnny and Scott, our friends. Anyway, you are listening. I forgot who we're listening to. Just a second.
To the Jimmy Deal Show.
Sorry about that, Jimmy.
All right.
Jimmy Deal Show on Hamilton.
We're back up to take 4. I think this is now.
On Hamilton Radio.
No, let me write that
People,
out.
listen, no, but I got to tell you something. When you make mistakes like this, people love it.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely fun.
And I love it because it
Absolutely
shows
fun.
you're a human person. You just make mistakes.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it.
So
Jimmy
I am
Deal
Lou Graham
show
from Florida.
on Jimmy D.
It's
on,
Jimmy Deal. Jimmy Deal
show
On Hamilton Radio.
on Hamilton Radio.
Yep.
I got all mine part right. I just
I want you to have fun and play with it. Just that don't forget to say
sure, but I want to get it right. So, take 4.
Take 4.
The actor prepares. That's how you prepare as an actor. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hi, this is Johnny Whittaker. You might know me best as Jody from Family Affair. Or 50 years ago, I was Tom Sawyer, playing Tom Sawyer with Jodie Foster as Becky Thatcher. Or maybe Johnny from Johnny and Scott, our friends, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. And this is the 50th year for that. Anyway, you are listening to the Jimmy Deal Show on Hamilton Radio.
Fantastic. That was great, Johnny. Fantastic. Thank you so much for hanging out with us all this time. We really appreciate
it was 2 hours. Wow.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
Yeah, almost 2 hours.
Well, maybe you can break it up into.
Don't worry about it. We're fine.
It
But
was
I want to thank some of the people that are listening. Jimmy, you can too. Of course, now we're on YouTube. My good buddy from Bubblegum Orchestra, he says he grew up with you. He loves your work, John. He loves the show. Alan Bookman, another musician, says wonderful. He listens to you as well. And our good friend Tom Payton and whoever we get. Jimmy, who you have?
We got Cindy Lake Ronkonkoma. You got my mom listening there in Brooklyn. We got Marty.
What's your mom's name?
Millie.
Hey, Millie. How you doing?
Big
Love
fan
you. Got a good son.
Well, thank you.
Did a good job.
Thank you so much.
I'm blind because I don't really know him, but
but thank you, Johnny. I really appreciate you on the show
so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
We'll see you later.
Have a great night, Johnny.
All right. So, Jimmy, who we got coming up in the following weeks?
Okay, coming up
Monday.
Great
show, by the way.
Great show. Johnny's fantastic. Grandmaster Patrick Wren from the Tennessee Karate Institute.
That's this Monday coming up.
Monday, yeah, I'm excited about this show. He co-owned that with Elvis Presley, and we're gonna have my friend Tommy, who's also been on the show. He's gonna be here with us because we spent a couple of hours with Patrick not too long ago. Also, we got Elvis tribute artist Jimmy Holmes is going to be here. Who else? We got Lee Newton's going to stop by. And also Marlene Bandiro, Al Bandiro's wife. She's got a brand new book out. I think it's a follow-up to her last book. So we're going to talk to her about that in December. So a lot more, too, on the way. So just keep listening, and we'll let you know about all the great stars coming on the show.
Great, guys. Thanks for listening. We appreciate everything. Thank you for your time. And now we're on YouTube, so there's no question. You don't have to be on Facebook. A lot of people don't want to log into Facebook. They say, I don't want to log in Facebook. Now you can hear us and watch us on YouTube. 2 channels.
Awesome.
I'll send you both links, Jimmy.
Great. Well, Doc, thank you so much. I had a great time tonight, and thank you again, Johnny Whittaker. You were fantastic, and I'll catch you on Monday, Doc G.
We'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend, Jimmy, and everybody else have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.